great idea. I hope it works, and it's had my full support. It did in the last highway bill, and it will again.
Steve, when I do a radio report, I'll make sure to mention that judge's right part. Okay. Marcelo.
Thanks, Steve.
Yes, the question is for Congressman LaTourette.
Sure.
In the main, you run as a liberal Republican because of the way the district is laid out. I wonder how comfortable you are running as a liberal Republican with the top of your ticket, McCain and Palin, and do you support them? And the same question would be for the other two candidates as well. Are you comfortable with McCain, Palin leading your ticket?
And your question to the other two is that you want to know if they're liberal or Republicans too and be comfortable with that? Is that what your question is?
That is what you do. You run as a liberal because you have to get over and reach across that aisle, as you say, and get some Democrats to vote for you.
Well, first of all...
And the debate isn't between us. The question is pretty...
Well, then what are you talking for?
Because you addressed me. That's
Well, I think you need to sit down.
Thank you, sir. Congressman.
I think you need to sit down and ask a question.
I am asking.
Well, I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to tell you something. Oh, you know what? That's way out of bounds. What's your name and where do you live? Warren?
And I'm a native of here.
Right.
And I've watched...
A native of Youngstown?
No.
Youngstown?
That's enough, sir. We need to move on.
Okay, well, listen, here's the deal. I don't run as a liberal Republican. It may come as a surprise to you. There are no liberal Republicans. I run as a moderate Republican. I don't call myself a moderate Republican. The National Journal tracks all of our votes, and if you look at the entire spectrum of people in the United States Congress, I fall smack dab in the middle. I resent your question. I resent your insinuation. You're flat out wrong, and I hope you have a lovely day.
Well, are you supporting
Palin? How many questions does this fellow get to ask? I'll tell you right now. Yes, I'm going to tell you exactly right. I support McCain, Palin, and John McCain's going to be the next president of the United States with my support.
Thank you, Congressman. Thank you, sir. We will give the other gentlemen their time as well. Mr. Macko?
I voted absentee for Bob Barr for president. I believe he is the best choice. There's been some debate within the Libertarian Party and the Patriot Movement. If you feel Chuck Baldwin's a better choice, then vote for him. Bob Barr is so much better than either the fascist candidate or the communist candidate. Don't laugh. You're gonna see what happens. Don't laugh. I wish it were funny too, but it's not. You're going to see what happens when one of them is elected. Things will get worse, but that's not a hard prediction to make. Every president since Hoover's replacement has been worse than he was. I won't take any more of my time on this question.
1 minute, Mr. O'Neill.
I love the City Club. I love the City Club. Only at the City Club could you have Mr. Macko sitting between me and Steve. This is good. This is good. But let's answer the question. Let's answer the question. I'm running with Barack Obama and Joe Biden. Steve is running with McCain and Palin. I mean, we know that. There's no point in trying to shed that. So we have to look at who's going to do the best for the 14th Congressional District. And the reality is, the people in this district elected Ted Strickland, they elected Sherrod Brown, and they're going to elect me to the Congress because we are tired of what we've got from Washington. I'm from the Irish team of O'Neill and Obama.
Next question.
Steve, I see you're now, pretty much wound up now.
Yeah, I'm ready to go.
Let's go. Dale Blanchard here. Yep. The question is, twice you voted against the bailout plan.
Right.
But financing is very important for American businesses. So why would you make that kind of vote? That one kind of escapes me. Why you would vote against the bailout plan?
Well, I'm happy to tell you why I voted against it, not once but twice, because it was a lousy piece of legislation, and there were a number of problems with it. First of it was $700 billion of taxpayers' money. It didn't need to be $700 billion, first of all. It could have been infused with private capital so it didn't cost the taxpayer. Secondly, what you're seeing is that it wasn't well thought out, and it was a bum's rush. Secretary Paulson came to Capitol Hill, said, last week everything is fine. If you don't pass it by Friday, the world as we know it's going to come to an end. And those chickens are now coming home to roost. And what you're finding is that because it wasn't a well-thought-out plan, because they did not adopt my amendment, you have the opportunity to create winners and losers, like PNC over National City Bank and others, and that's going to continue. That's why I voted against it. And then, our friends in the Senate, they just couldn't help themselves when I went over there. They had to lard it up with another $150 billion for rum, wooden arrows for children, NASCAR, and other things. That's why I voted against it, and I'm proud of that vote.
Now that the other gentleman did vote, but your opportunity, Judge O'Neill, to answer what you would have done?
Well, the answer I think I said in my opening, doing nothing is not an option. People are losing their savings, their jobs, their houses, and the future of the free enterprise system is at stake here. It's not $700 billion in the Senate compromise that you should have voted for. It's $350 billion, and they have to get congressional approval before they go beyond that. And with that money, we get an equity stake in the banks we secure and we assist. We would have owned a portion of National City if the bailout bill had been properly guided by a member of Congress who had the ability to stand up and protect our 2,000 jobs.
David Macko.
The economic definition of fascism is government control of the economy, of the means of production and distribution. We no longer have a free enterprise system. We didn't have one before the greatest robbery in history. We don't have one now. The figure being used is $850 billion, but this $850 billion figure comes from the same liars who told you that the Iraq War would cost $50 billion. Bernanke and Paulson should be tried for treason. Laugh, but it's not funny.
This is for Mr. Macko. Mr. Macko, Mr. LaTourette has been so long in Washington that he is able to bring a lot of pork here. I would like to understand what you are going to do about pork.
1 minute.
I like to eat pork, but not force-fed by the government. I will bring liberty. I will bring justice. I will bring peace. We will begin to bring prosperity. So vote libertarian. Pork, all of this pork is unconstitutional. The Constitution provides for a federal government to protect the lives, liberty, and property of the American people, to have a few necessary courts for disputes over the Constitution, and to hold honest elections. That's all. All of the rest of this is unconstitutional. We've been practicing unconstitutional form of government for the last 90 years. It's leading us into the Second Great Depression. If we don't turn around now, the country is finished.
Mr. LaTourette.
Well, I may read the Constitution a little differently than you. I thought all spending and purse strings originate in the House of Representatives and the United States Congress, and I think it's incumbent upon a member of Congress to have the ability to determine what his or her 600,000 constituents need. I mentioned in my opening remarks there are cities that have pipes under the ground that are 80, 90 years old. The mandates continue to come on clean air and clean water, but the money doesn't come. If I didn't have the ability to send funds back to Ohio, one, they'd be spent someplace else. And this really is a nonpartisan thing, I will tell you, that if you don't like George Bush, if we didn't earmark things for northeastern Ohio, George Bush would get to spend all the money. He wouldn't save any money. And if Barack Obama is elected President of the United States and you're a Republican, you don't save any money. Barack Obama will spend the money and we won't receive it.
Mr. O'Neill.
Well, two things that come to mind, and they're realities. The system of earmarking funds where people just slip things into bills like wooden arrows and get them voted upon is how we end up with bridges to nowhere in Alaska. Earmarks are a terrible way to govern.